All right, so Kendall, Dawn, and Elise, thank you for being back here. Welcome back to Harmony Talk.
Thank you.
And I guess maybe on this special night, more importantly, welcome to Harmony in the Woods.
Yes.
It was a real pleasure to have you here tonight. And I was thinking as we were sitting down that I'm exhausted because this is just post-performance. So I really appreciate you going through all the energy you just put out to be able to join us, at least for a few minutes.
Thank you.
And for those that are listening, they might not understand. Not only did you just do a performance, but you did it on a very hot, humid night in the summer in the woods, fending off the bugs and the humidity, but it didn't stop you. Really, really appreciate it. Now, the last time we talked a lot about your history as both world-class performers and as educators. And we are going to talk a little bit more about that. And I want to get to that in a minute. But another thing I want to talk about, as I was getting ready for this interview today for Harmony Talk, I dug a little bit back into some of your social media, looked at your website, and I stumbled on your website at something that instantly I started to giggle a little bit, because I thought the combination of educators and musicians on your website, who else would have a mission statement at the top of your website?
Yes.
I think it would have to be educators who are also musicians that would have that. So you guys are definitely into the groove and into the idea of planning and having goals.
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But to start, I want to talk about what your mission is. Okay, so this is what it says on the website, the mission statement of the String Queens. The mission of the String Queens is to create musical experiences that inspire diverse audiences to love, hope, feel, and imagine. Now, I can tell the audience that I saw what I think that looks like tonight, but I would want to know in your words, what does that mission look like to you?
Yeah, it looks like a crowd like tonight, actually really encapsulated. When you see folks from different ages, different walks of life, some who come to Harmony in the Woods all the time, some who kind of stumbled upon it because they saw something that piqued their interest, or they used to play the violin. We got to talk to some folks after the show, and it's like, I've never heard strings quite like that. And so every time somebody sort of gets the story, there was a lovely couple at the end who said, like, and I understood what you were doing when you played Dawson's Creek, and then you went to Faye. Like, people who could articulate what we were trying to get across. When people kind of give our mission back to us,
Right.
It's like, because it's been 8 years. We've talked about this. We're like, do we need to tweak the mission at all? But every time we get on stage, we see the mission come to life, right? Inspiring diverse audiences through musical experiences. It doesn't have to be a concert.
Right.
It could very well have been all of these folks with an instrument petting zoo. Everybody gets a violin. Now let's learn how to improvise, right? Like, an experience is an experience. And the best gratitude that we can get from an audience is, that changed my life. I felt something.
Yeah.
You touched me. That was my favorite song. I've never heard something like that. Those are just some small ways that I think we saw the mission come to life tonight.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. It was beautiful. And I think you touched on something really special about it being an experience, because we are the marriage of education and professional musicianship.
Right.
And so when you talk about an experience, that could be in a classroom. Tonight, we were here in the woods at Harmony in the Woods. We have been on cruise ships. And so we can be in any medium. And we want to make sure that at the end of the performance, at the end of the masterclass or the workshop or whatever the medium is, people are walking away feeling inspired, feeling joyful, feeling hopeful.
Right.
And when we put that word feel in there, we understand that music is not monogamous in the sense that it always has to make you feel good. It explores a range of emotions. And so we wanted to make sure that within our mission statement that we embodied a range of emotions and didn't just limit our listeners to feeling and experiencing one particular emotion.
And for me, I love what you guys are saying. What comes to mind is when we have those audience members during our meet and greet that come almost in tears.
Yeah.
And they didn't know why they came until after the performance.
Right.
And maybe they had been home for months and didn't come out, or had lost a close member of their family and really felt inspired and the will to go on after our performance. And yeah, the mission, I can definitely see our mission when we have audience members that come up to us and express that.
So what you're providing to the audience, that, like you said earlier, they are giving back to you, that is really the best demonstration of the mission, in quotes, being accomplished.
Yes.
Really. Now, I noticed tonight in the concert, a question that I was thinking, and the last time we spoke, I wondered, because the String Queens are your touring musicians, and you're touring a lot, and your weekends are filled with it, and through the summer your time is filled with it, and even throughout the year. And it's getting to the point where you're traveling far to perform. Is there a time where, I know you love the education in your life, is there a time where the music and the touring is going to make you have to step away from that? Or would you not let that happen because your passion on the education side of things is just too strong? You can't be pulled away.
Well, so I think what you're talking about right now is the formal education, because what I do feel is no matter where we are, we're going to be educators. But as we were just saying to you, we could come to a school, and in my mind, that's still an education. In the classroom where we're there every day, that could be put on pause for a minute, and do the touring full time with some outreach, and then maybe come back into the classroom. But I think the thing for me is I'm never going to stop teaching, but maybe not in the capacity I'm in now, so it's always there.
Yes. You've also touched on something very important. We experienced COVID a few years ago, and COVID taught a lot of people in education how flexible we all can really be. We don't necessarily have to be in front of a group of students giving direct instruction 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. We've learned about virtual learning. We've learned how to do things on computer screens or through phone calls or text messages, or, just making sure that we're reconfiguring what traditional education looks like. Because any person who's an educator, you can't walk away from it. It tugs at your heartstrings every single day. But I think what we're doing is exploring different capacities in which we can still perform, and we can teach, and we can educate. Recently, I moved into the position of being a math instructional coach at my school. So I get to do a lot of coaching of new teachers. I get to be in their classrooms, helping them with their students. But that's something it's not just limited to 8 to 5 or 9 to 4. I'm texting my teachers all the time. We're on Zoom meetings. We're in constant communication through emails. We're sending videos, recording classes, providing feedback. And so there's so many different ways that we can come to really engage and really sort of sit with education outside of this traditional sense that we always known it to be.
And you just used the term engage. And one of the things that I saw on your website that I think was new, I didn't see it the last time I was on, it's the documentary. So it's Voice of America. And
They seen the improvements to the website.
I tell you, really, it was amazing, right?
There you go. It integrates our website and really brings it to life.
I mean, and that's a great addition. And the documentary is really well done. And in it, it really portrays your history, what inspires you. And I love the clips of what you do in the classroom. When you're talking about engaging, one of the things that I was reminded of is one of the greatest teachers that I've ever worked with was a guy who, if you were to walk into his room, he was a math teacher, geometry. If you were to walk into his room and he was teaching geometry, you would oftentimes not really even think he's teaching. You would find that there was a lot of conversation going on about life, and then he almost backdoored them into geometry. And when I was watching the clips of you and your role as educators, I saw the same thing, almost to the point where your focus on the relational piece and the be a better person piece kind of stood out more than maybe the content. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and how you perform as an educator and why that is your style? Why is it important to you?
I think as an educator, as educators, we endeavor to be educators that we had, like our favorite teacher who's like, gosh, I couldn't wait to be Mrs. Rayburn, my 7th grade ELA teacher. I couldn't wait to be, Mr. White, my choral teacher all through high school, I couldn't wait to take on those tenets, those characteristics that made them so vibrant in the classroom. And I just sat at the edge of my seat and couldn't wait to get whatever they had to give me. But we also seek to be educators that we didn't have. And I think for all of the new educators, you're stepping into the classroom, we're in July, getting into August, everybody's about to start their school year. It's what kind of, again, experience? What kind of experience did you want to have while you were learning math, while you were learning how to play the instrument for the first time, while you were learning physics, while you were learning biology? What did you want to leave out of the classroom feeling? Yes, the content, we will get to the content. We backdoor them, like you said, we almost tricked them. Don always talks about in our coaching, I've been a coach too, we learned as teachers, you have to have a hook. You have to have something that engages audience. So yes, we could have not spoken to our audience the entire night tonight and just played song after song. Hey, did y'all enjoy that? Great. Next song. That's not engaging and that's not going to move anybody. And so I think no matter what you're teaching, if you're preaching a sermon, if you are at a Girl Scouts meeting and you're imparting wisdom, and no matter what medium, like you said, it doesn't matter. What experience do you want? Do you want people to be better than they were walking out, than they were walking in? Right? Like, do you want kids to say, oh my gosh, I get it. It doesn't matter if it's about what the size of the beaker or what chemical reaction, right? Like, but you remember that Miss Izzy hopefully made it fun and she made you feel like you could do anything. The best teachers I had made me feel like I could do anything. They made me feel special and they saw me. The content will come, right? But they have to feel like they are seen and that they have a sense of belonging. And it's a thing that, you know, I get it. Like Teach Like a Champ. There's so many books out there. You can go to college, you get your degree. Like, yes, there are so many things, but I also think there's a talent in teaching. There's a talent that has to be cultivated. And, you know, probably a lot of people won't say like what I'm about to say, but it's like, if you don't have that passion, if you're not interested in getting better, right? Like, we are seasoned musicians, but every day we seek to figure out how can we become better? How can we sound better? How can we get closer? Right? Like, and that is something that I see that is leaving education, the sense and the urgency. Like, I gotta get better. I can't wait to get better. Right? That's all we knew. That's all we knew as educators. Those are the coaches we had. Right. And so these are the people that we try to be like. I'm gonna pass it to somebody else, but those
if you don't mind, if I just add to that. So I think the last time we spoke, one of the things that I had mentioned, I think I did, was you can't fake care.
No.
Right. So, you know, what you're talking about when you're in front of the kids and you're expressing whatever it is that you're putting out there, like, you can't fake or pretend your way into that.
Right.
So you being your authentic self. And by the way, I think so importantly for all of you, you know, like, if you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. Right. Like, I think you are living, breathing examples to your students of exactly that. Like, from whatever your backgrounds are, and they're all different and they're all diverse, and there are certain things that you're really passionate about, and there were things that were hardships and struggles, and maybe sometimes things were a little easier. But either way, you've been there, you've done that, and what you're promoting, I don't think just as the content, but as a human being.
That's right.
And what you can become. Like, I really admire that, and that really stood out in those video clips. And I have to tell you, Dawn, one of the things, I'm going to go back now. I know I'm jumping around, but I want to go back to the documentary. There was, you know, just speaking about inspiration, and you were off camera for this one little section. I was hoping that they would show you because you got very emotional. Yeah, there was a part where you talked about, about your instrument and your mom putting herself out there, and maybe financially, there were hardships in your household. But she valued education. She valued music and the role it could play in your life. And clearly she valued you. So can you tell me a little bit about what that meant to you in your path, on your path to where you are today?
Sure.
What a talk.
And, you know, we all touched on this a little bit in the documentary, just the inspiration that all of our mothers, all of our parents have been on our journey, and not just our musical journey, our journey into becoming young women, our journey into becoming mothers, our journey into becoming wives. We've had wonderful examples of what that looks like, but not just what it looks like when it's easy, but the resilience that comes along after the adversity. And there's so much adversity that we all experience. Number one, as just 3 Black women navigating our way through America. We experience adversity being African-American string players in a predominantly white Eurocentric landscape. We experience adversity as parents, as wives, and as educators. And so watching our mothers so gracefully navigate the adversity, whether it be in your home, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be a parent-teacher conference that didn't quite go the way it was planned, there is reflection in the resilience. And our mothers never displayed resilience without approaching us for a period of reflection. And those conversations were not in vain. We carry every message with us. We impart those messages onto our children, and we impart those messages onto our students because they're so very important. Life is not always going to be a crystal stair, you know? And so we have to be willing to get down and dirty with the challenges, optimistically knowing that on the other side, and here's where our immense faith comes into play as well, there's victory. We always have this saying, victory is on the agenda. And so it doesn't matter how hard we fall, how low it gets, how bad it gets.
victory at the end of the day is on the agenda. And so that's always our North Star. And we really believe that we can do anything, absolutely anything we put our minds to, we put our hearts to, but not just independently. We have to do this all together, and not just with the three of us, with you, with the audience, with every member of our landscape in our communities, because everyone has a unique piece of their puzzle that when we all live that, it's a beautiful picture. It's a beautiful picture.
Reflection on the resilience.
Yes.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Yes.
It should be, that is really amazing. Now, as you were going through that, one of the things that, you reflect on is, your role as musicians, Black women musicians playing classical instruments. And I think, you mentioned it the last time we met, but it came up again in the documentary. And it's actually, I don't want to necessarily refer to it as a statistic, but it really is. So I'm going to tell you what the statistic is, and then I want to talk about it. Less than 2%.
Yeah.
Tell us what that statistic means, and then I want to get into it a little bit more.
The statistic means we still have work to do.
Yeah.
The work is never done.
Right.
The statistic, you could look at it and be discouraged. You could look at it and say, oh, this is all hope is lost. This is just hopelessness. But the statistic is also our motivation and the fire that drives us to take that number from 2 to 20 to 40 to 60 until we can really level the playing field. Because what the misconception is there's a lack of talent or there's a lack of resources. It's really lack of access.
Right.
And so once we provide young minority students with access to these instruments and access to performances and access to the concert hall and master classes and professional musicians from many different genres of music, now we can start to take that 2 and increase it to a higher number. But we have to make sure that we're providing that access. And in order to provide access, like you said before, you can't fake care.
Right.
You have to engage and invest yourself in something that you truly care about. And so I say that because I really want to challenge the classical music world. If you genuinely care, that 2 wouldn't be 2 for 20 years.
Right.
That 2 might be for right now, but next year that 2 is 4.
So is 2 for 20 years, and just for the sake of the audience that's listening, 2%, what is the 2, what it literally does the 2%?
The 2% represents minority musicians who are filling positions in American orchestra, in American orchestras, basically.
It hasn't been 2% for 20 years. Is that
it's been
a real number?
Quite some time. I believe that 2% is a few years old.
Right.
Maybe it has increased to 3 or 4%, but the number is still a single digit number.
Yeah, and it's interesting. When I read a little description, again, I'm going to go back to that documentary. You're getting a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah, this is great.
So documentary.
It was beautiful.
Shout out to Beth Mendelsohn of Voice of America News.
It was great.
And the irony of the documentary is, and not long after the documentary was released, there was an executive order that just obliterated the Voice of America News network. And so there was actually behind the scenes a lot of urgency to get the documentary out in time because there was a lot of foresight in what was about to happen. But Beth Mendelsohn, who produced the entire thing, thought that our story was so important in that the world, not just America, the world needed to hear it. And so we all exhausted ourselves to make sure that we got that out in just enough time. And literally less than a month later, that was awesome. It was the last piece they did.
You had mentioned that in the words that your words was with 2% in mind, it demonstrates to you that there's still work to do. And one of the things that the documentary used or used to describe you, and I'm going to read it so that I don't mess it up, but it says the String Queens, a groundbreaking trio of Black musicians, blends classical training with the soulful influence of their heritage. So when I read that, I thought, okay, that's a really powerful thing, right? But then I thought, kind of like you with the comment of Dawn, with like there's more work to do. It doesn't just say the String Queens, a groundbreaking trio of musicians.
Right.
It says Black musicians. Right. So that demonstrates two things to me. One is it's really critical the role you're playing in growing that number. So it's important to include that. The next part of what I would say on the double-edged sword side of that is we really still have to include that. Right. So that's the demonstration of there's still work to do.
Yes.
Right. But so when you think about that, and I think I saw that and witnessed it in all of your clips in the classroom, when you're out as performers and you're out walking the walk, right? Do you feel, obviously there's got to be great pride in knowing that you're working as hard as you are to grow that number. And I really, truly applaud you for that. And I hope it's 20% tomorrow after tonight's performance. It should be. Do you feel the weight of that? Because I got to tell you, when I was watching the video clips of you and your students, again, in that documentary, I just got such a strong sense of your cheerleading and your giving them the impression that you can do this.
Yes.
Right? So swing that back to the weight that you feel of the role you play in helping that whole process.
Yeah.
Elise.
Oh,
The same. We just talked about this earlier today.
do I feel the weight? Yes. As we were speaking, I couldn't help but think about a couple of students that I have. Just been an amazing year. It's been an amazing year. Thank you, Kendall. And one of my students, so I grew up in DC, predominantly Black when I was growing up in DC. And my mom told me, hey, I just want you to be aware that this environment is not the real world. I'm glad that you are feeling that, you know, you are surrounded by your own here, but once you step out of DC, it is a little different. And it was shocking at first until I did get out and just being in different orchestras in the area, in the DMV. So I'm one of those native DC people. It's DC, it's not the DMV. But when I did get out into the DMV, I was in a cocoon. And I'll never forget the first time someone says, how did you learn how to play? I've never seen you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It crushed my soul. I had never been approached that way. And I honestly didn't know what to do at the time, but then my mom's words came back like, you better come on here.
Right.
This is the real world. And I'm going to fast forward to a student. I was doing a little paper and she took my class in August of last year. Was my first year, was her first year at the school as well. And she took my class with the intention of dropping out at the end of the day. It was an accident to her, bad scheduling. And so I didn't find out until the end of the year, but she didn't withdraw because it was the first time she saw more Black people in orchestra. And then she said something very odd. And then the teacher was cool. And the teacher, she said, the teacher looks like me.
Yeah. Right.
It matters. And yeah, we feel it.
Right.
We definitely feel it. And it weighs down. But man, I tell you, it's adjusting the crown.
Sure.
The crown is heavy and I wear it proudly.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud to be a part of a community that needs me and wants me and are looking for me to have, I don't want to say the answer, but the support to get them to the next level. I'm proud to carry that and find all avenues, find different places for them to be exposed and to expose them and give them music that not only do they like, but music that's challenging that, you know, I'm going to say it, everyone else is playing. I want them to be able to walk into any room
Sure.
and play. Yeah, of course I can play Beethoven's Fifth, but I can also play a Katy Perry tune and, you know,
Sure,
diverse. And that didn't happen for me. I love my music education, no doubt. But I want them to be diverse in all ways in music. So I proudly teach my children, and they're diverse kids. I'm not just teaching one population, but what I appreciate is they see me and they're not running the other way thinking that their education is going to be less because of who's standing in front of them, because that matters too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm very proud to be their leader. I'm proud that they lead me in other ways because we only go, we come with our own thoughts. The children, whether they're, young adults or 5-year-olds or 13-year-olds, they have their own thoughts and can teach us as well.
Sure.
So I'm just
immensely proud
Mhm.
to be the person that gets to usher in the next generation.
Yeah, and I think you've represented that so well. All of you do, and thanks for sharing that story about your mom.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really touching.
Yeah.
And thanks for being honest about how you felt when you put yourself out there
Yeah.
and the difficulty
Yeah.
that provided. But, you know, that perseverance part, the resilience part we talked about
Yeah.
before, there's another walk the walk moment.
That's it.
That's another walk the walk moment.
Yeah.
Now, that's some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, maybe on a little bit more lighter side, you know, you mentioned tonight some of the musicians we've lost in the past year. And, you know, most recently Ozzy Osbourne of all people, right?
Right.
And, you know, you're on the road now. And as you're on the road, you know, I'd like to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit, because life on the road, I'm not a touring musician, but I always have admired what life on the road must be like.
Mhm.
So if we could just for a few moments, is there a part of it that, what do you love about it?
Mhm.
What's hard about it? Well, let's start there.
Okay. Wow. It's a total 360 experience. It has its highs, it has its lows. I think the beautiful thing about the String Queens is that there are three of us. And when one doesn't have it, the other two can carry.
Sure.
Or when two are down, like it's really the perfect triangle of teamwork. And we're always on the road. We're always on a plane or on a train or, you know, just moving in a car to and from. But I think it's also important to note that when we're on the road, we're also still fulfilling the responsibilities of our full-time job.
Sure.
And so when we leave here tonight, I'll go back to my hotel room and I'll analyze some math data, and then I'll be on the plane tomorrow and getting my reports ready for Monday.
Sure.
But I think it's really important that there are 24 hours in a day. Right. And when we're very organized and we schedule out everything minute by minute and all those sorts of things. And so you can really maximize on a lot of time within 24 hours being in a day.
Right.
When we move around quickly, something that's very important for us is health and wellness.
Sure.
There are some nights where we don't have the option of getting 8 hours of sleep. For example, I think we have a 3 or 4 o'clock call tomorrow morning, right? But we know, lights out at 10 to at least get 5 hours.
So that's like one of the tricks on the road for you.
Yes.
The wellness and the health part. Like that's a priority. Like you figured out something to make that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our diet. We went to the restaurant at the hotel last night, and she said, "What do you guys want?" And one person ordered salmon, and the next person ordered salmon. And then the third person, she said, "All of you guys want salmon?" And we were like, yeah, we do. Because we understand that healthy eating when we're on the road, we have to have a lot of energy. We have to have a lot of strength, mental strength, physical strength, spiritual strength. And so what you put in is what you get out. And so we want to make sure that we're hydrated, that we're eating well, that we're spiritually grounded. We read scripture, we pray before every performance. And so it's just those little nuggets of things that when you put them all together, almost like a piece of music, right? All the individual notes, but when you put them all together, you have this beautiful piece of music. And there are going to be moments in the music where you might have some darkness, and there are moments where you have some brightness. But then when you put all of those different things together, that's what makes the whole piece. And when you put all of these things together, that's what makes our whole tour. But it would be remiss of me not to mention our team, because we don't do this by ourselves. We have an incredible manager in Michelle Taylor and her team. We have an incredible booking agent with Be Natural in New York City. But we also are strategic in making sure that we plan specific points of communication with our team to make sure that we're all aligned in terms of manifesting goals and alignment and things like that. And so when you just put all of those things together, it just really makes it work. And we don't agree on everything, but transparent communication, I think that's something that teaching and coaching has really helped us to develop. Transparent communication, honest communication, being willing to sort of just ride the waves together. If someone, has had a long night, or somebody has a busy day, when we get back, that's the person, hey, don't talk, like, let them sleep on the plane. Or, Elise, for example, it's almost like she's traveling with two people. Killa and I have these little violin and viola cases. She's traveling with almost a whole nother human being everywhere we go. And so she buys an extra seat for her instrument on the plane. And airline rules kind of fluctuate depending on the airlines. And so just coming with a spirit, and you see this in her, just a beautiful spirit of openness and flexibility. And so we understand that no matter how we're each individually feeling personally, that when we come together for the collective, that kind of takes a back seat to what we need to be doing collectively to execute what needs to be done.
I think you had mentioned Michelle, your manager.
Yeah.
One of the times I spoke to her recently, kind of in preparation of this, she had mentioned, I think you're out in Oregon. And, you know, one of the highlights must be to be able to see, you know, the beautiful places and beautiful venues.
Yes.
You know,
love it.
yeah. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that. Do you have something you've seen recently that really resonated with you for its beauty?
We go on Instagram.
Yeah.
The West Coast tour that you're referring
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
you know, we put a reel up just because there was so much land to see, right?
Right.
We were in Bend and Eugene, Oregon.
Bend is beautiful.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
gorgeous.
And so the venue's like up on a hill, and then when you come down the hill to the beautiful lake here, and you know, university here, and folks enjoying a coffee shop. I mean, it really was community. What are some of the other venues that we enjoyed lately?
We were just sent at the
Hollywood Bowl is a
Rochester,
favorite, just
yeah,
because
Saratoga Springs Jazz
Saratoga Springs Jazz
Festival.
Festival.
I'm
There's
the
so many venues.
the Capitol Jazz Superfruits, which was great. That was the first time. That was the first time where the three of us were able to return the favor that our parents had done for us our whole lives. So you're allowed to bring a guest or two with you on the ship, and so we all looked at each other and said, "It's time for us to bring our folks to share this moment."
That's
With
special,
us.
yeah.
And so it was really nice to be able to take them around the world with us and just sort of reinvest in them everything that they have literally depleted themselves of their entire lives so that we can be able to experience the success that we're experiencing. And I think of this Celine Dion quote that says, I've been around the world, but I've seen none of it. Because sometimes you blink and you're already in the next place.
Yeah, you're up and going to the next place. Yeah.
But we try to take moments to just sort of exhale and take in some scenery, meet some local people and have some conversations, take a nice walk, enjoy the scenery as much as we possibly can.
So, you know, going back to Ozzy, there's no like, you know, from the top floor throwing the TV out and lighting it. No, sorry, okay,
No, but it's a great
Love the way-
experience to be on the road. Of course, it's tiring.
Sure.
Of course, it's tiring. But I must say, sometimes when we're driving, like the West Coast, we drive to one city, and then we're now in the car driving from city to
Sure.
city.
Yeah.
And I really am in the car, like in my head,
Yeah.
snow-capped mountains.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know, seeing it up front. West Side is not where I grew up, and so you know, as a child. Okay, so I told my parents I wanted to live in a hotel.
Which was sure.
And it's you know, of course, my parents laughed, and they were right to laugh because there's nothing like your own bed. Right.
You pine for that, right?
But to actually, you know, think about that as a young child,
sure.
and had no idea I'd be sitting here like this. And so in the car, sometimes I'm not literally pinching myself, but my thoughts are,
Yeah.
this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. And we're
sure.
tired. And like you said, we do take the time after sound check. We're going to go rest a little bit because we know, what kind of energy we get for a show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not go hang out at the bar, you know, after sound check. We really do understand our bodies and what's needed. So it's great.
And there seems to be a real sense of gratitude that you have, which you don't lose, right? And you haven't lost over time. Even earlier tonight, you were mentioning how blessed you've been to be able to be in the presence of really wonderful, amazing people. You know, President Obama, Celine Dion, I think maybe something was mentioned. Whitney Houston. So when, you know, in those moments, you know, is it such a wow moment that it's hard for you to stay focused on what you're there to do, or how does it work for you?
Listen, this is a job.
It's your job.
It's hard to imagine.
Honestly,
hard to say
so this is the thing.
Yeah.
When they first, so usually in rehearsals, you're not with the person until they come out on stage. At this point, you've been in rehearsals, and it's like I'm getting these notes, I'm playing, but you're not far off when you finally get in front of when a President Obama walks in the room, or when Aretha Franklin walks on stage and takes her coat off, or when Whitney Houston comes from the side and she's now reading. There is a moment in my D. You're playing a D, Elise. Oh my gosh! You know, there is that fandom going on. But you cannot lose note. You cannot lose the focus. And we're always multitasking. And that's a part of it. You are there for a reason. You are there to work. They did hire you. They're expecting your best. So we can all smile and still get the same and nod. I see you.
can I get an autograph later?
Yeah.
And they say it's like a duck under the water, and the duck's fight, but on top of the water. It's just stakes.
Everything is high stakes to us.
Yeah.
Right.
It's everything is high stakes. And going back to the Black piece,
Mhm.
it's always going to be high stakes for us.
Right.
It's always going to be high stakes. I don't care about the Juilliard, whatever amount of degrees and gigs and artists you've played for internationally,
Mhm.
Zimbabwe, China, like all the areas are covered here, Russia. I keep naming.
Right.
But the stakes are always going to be high for us, where another musician could walk in the rehearsal, sit in first chair or last chair, and someone, oh yeah, they got it, right? We will always be questioned, whether it comes out loud, whether it's the way the conductor is conducting when it's time to focus on the first violin. Like, we're always going to be in question. And it's a plight.
Right.
But as Elise said, she so boldly and proudly wears that crown.
Sure.
It is heavy to carry. It's also, when we think about the resilience, it's the fabric that our ancestors, like, that's our quilt. That resilience is a
Yeah.
part of, it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
So it's not a turn it off. It's not hard to stay focused because we know what the stakes are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stakes are high, but you talk about when you show up, you have a job to do.
That's right.
But is there a part of you, and I'm hoping the answer is yes, that says, I belong here?
Absolutely.
It has to be, right? Because you're there.
Mhm.
It's not by accident,
That's right.
right? And that's really powerful when you're going back to the hat you wear as educator,
That's right.
and you're challenging them to dare to explore,
Yes.
dare to believe in themselves.
Mhm.
And then you could say, yeah, this is us, by the way, performing in front of the Rocco.
Right.
That's right.
It's a process, though. I
It's
do
a
want to
process.
pause you, Greg. It's been a process. I'll speak for Kendall. It's been a process. And I still have to say it out loud in my mind, like, I belong here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even with everything that we've
Right.
accomplished individually, outside of the music, totally. Like, yeah, we all have the resumes, but like, it's a pinch me, it's a gratitude, but it's also like, no, I do belong here.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's not a given.
Right.
For me, it's not a given. I have to put my hat on and remind myself, like, I do belong here. I did work my butt off to get
Yeah.
here. We worked. We no one gave this to
Sure.
us. No one will give this to us. But it's not lost on us that,
Yeah.
like,
You don't take it for granted.
No, not
it's a humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big or small the audience is.
That's right.
Every time we step on the stage, it is a humbling experience. It is, God, thank you for making my fingers move, even though
Yeah.
I haven't slept enough and I know I haven't eaten how I
Mhm.
should have, and all of the things, right? But we can't take it for granted because we all know, everybody listening and watching, we all know that it could be gone tomorrow.
That's
It could be gone tonight.
Yeah.
So every time is a humbling experience. And there's too much to learn. There's
Yeah.
still
Oh,
so much to do. Like, what other techniques, y'all, do we need to pull out of our bag? Like, there's tricks that no one's ever heard of that will come from the string quartets.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot to do.
There's lots to do, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so just a couple of little things
Yeah.
that I want to ask you, and then we'll start wrapping it up. You talk about you still have a lot to do and a lot to learn, and the music you played tonight was kind of all over the place. R&B, classical, you name it. Is it a democracy when you bring music to the table, or how does that work? Who's picking? You just does anybody? Is that a democratic process?
Democratic process.
Does anybody bring something in and the other two say no? Like, is there?
Not unless it's been tried first.
Okay.
So we never shoot down an idea or anything at all until we try it first. And even when we try it, we record it, because sometimes in the moment, what you think you're hearing under your ear
Right.
on the car ride home, when you play it back, it's very different from what you think you just
Sure.
heard. And sometimes that works out for the good, and
Right.
sometimes not so good.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But I mean, we're constantly sending voice memos to one another. We don't always have our instruments with us. I could be sitting at my desk at work and I'm inspired by an interaction that I just had with a child, and I'm recording some melody that just came to
Wow.
my head from that interaction,
Yeah.
and sharing that out
Mhm.
in a voice memo. I just came back from a much needed vacation. I'm from Miami originally. I went to go to Miami to spend some time with family, and I spent every day on the beach for a couple of weeks.
Nice.
The sound of the waves,
Mhm.
the sound of, we pulled up to her house, we heard children playing
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah.
and the birds going.
Right.
This is all inspiration. And so when we're bringing these ideas to the table,
Mhm.
no one's just saying, oh, this is my idea and I want to bring it. And we're gonna
Right.
no. Like,
Right.
this inspired me, guys. And so with this inspiration, I want to play this for you guys.
Right.
And then let's try to build it out
Sure.
into something.
Yeah.
But in building it out into something, you take someone's original idea,
Mhm.
and now it becomes a team effort
Sure.
to bring it to life.
Right. Right.
And so that's usually how it works. We had a great meeting the other night. We're in the process of getting ready to record our next album, our
Right.
fourth album.
Right.
And there is so much inspiration behind that album. It's also going to feature some original tunes. And so again, we're not always with our instruments, but we're always inspired and we are always creating music no matter where we are. We could go back to our rooms tonight after having this interview, and there could be a piece of inspiration that we just want to make into a melody, and then we can build that out into a piece. And so there's inspiration all around us.
I had asked in a previous Harmony Talk episode an artist named Akia Brion, and you should look her up if you've never heard of her. And a similar type of thought as an artist, you know, I don't know what it's like to do artwork. And her inspiration, she said, is life every day, all day. Everywhere I look, there could, and it's oftentimes unsuspecting. You know, you're on the beach and it's the waves, or it's, you know, maybe it's a mosquito buzzing in your
Exactly.
whatever it is, it could be anything. Yeah, there you go. Now, I guess to wrap it up, if we could, I think we heard a little bit about what's next for the String Queens, a new album. When might that be out? Do you have any next summer?
Next
Okay.
summer.
Well, what's next, like, you know, the next couple months for the String Queens, aside from the start of a new school year?
Yes.
Right. Playing some new, we're playing some, we continue to come to new cities and markets. So one of my favorite places to visit, not even to play, is Martha's Vineyard. And so we're blessed to get to go on the island twice in the month of August. So that'll be a premiere for us. Like, we have DC Jazz Festival coming up. We know summer is a time for jazz festivals, but the meeting that Dawn just referred to, we have calendared out the next 6 months down to the rehearsals, down to, okay, let's have more rehearsals than we need to. Okay, we got to shoot those rehearsal dates to the band, make sure they're all available. We have a co-producer that will reveal in some months. It's very, very exciting. We're very excited about it. But like it's like 12 people minimum involved in this undertaking.
Right.
And so the level of specificity and detail orientedness that it takes, it's fun. Like, we're excited, but like it keeps you up. And, you know, people often ask us in other interviews, like, what keeps you up at night? I feel like Beth asked us that at the VOA documentary. It just didn't make the cut. Like, what keeps us up at night? This is what keeps the train moving. I mean, new music is exciting.
Right.
What else is coming? I think we're talking about, like, we all know about the Wimbledon experience that we got in 2021. And so also like writing originals and writing arrangements that are tailored for placement. So hopefully there can be more Wimbledons, and whether it's in beauty, whether it's in, you know, books.
That's a whole other market.
It's a whole other market. And sort of this way, you know, our bodies, we use our bodies immensely on this stage, and it takes a lot out of us. And what are the other ways that we can be getting our name out there, getting our music out there, our sound, but also like resting our bodies and still generating buzz and income and sort of this making money while you sleep idea. We're businesswomen. We are. We're educators.
Entrepreneurs at heart too.
We are entrepreneurs. And so what else is coming up next?
You just remind you, well, you mentioned the band. So this is our second time coming to Harmony as the String Queens Trio. But a great number of our performances, especially this past year, has been the String Queens Sextet. And so we have a rhythm section. They call themselves the Swing Kings. So we have a pianist and a drum and bass player. And so a lot of our last couple of engagements have been with the sextet, and they just add a whole nother
You should bring the
dimension.
sextet to Harmony in the
They
Woods.
just add a whole another dimension. Even a whole new lane of repertoire that we do with them.
Is it hard for you when you do that because you're so used to being a trio?
You know what?
You know, is it like
frees us up a little bit? Actually,
it does bring you up a little, you know?
In the role of the trio, Elise's main role, she's the bass.
She's the glue.
Right. But when we have a bass, it frees her up to now play some more melodic things with violin and viola. So we love the sextet configuration because it actually allows us to have multiple arrangements of a singular tune depending on the instrumentation that we're and so it keeps us on our toes. We can never be complicit in playing everything the same way every single time because everybody's bringing something new and different depending on the configuration or the repertoire that's being played. It also makes me think of, we just spent a lot of time putting together almost like a professional development education workshop masterclass packet for school districts and school systems. And so we took our experiences going around to school districts around the country, working with the students, working with the staff, identifying things that are great and going really well in this music education landscape right now, but also identifying some needs in order to sort of move the needle forward. And so
Sure.
we just, spent some time putting together just a very thorough packet of just sort of professional development.
Does that have
offerings.
a name? Is there something? How could people find that? Or
It's not.
It's not released.
It's not released.
It's not released yet. It's sort of in the final stages of everything, but it will be available through Michelle, our manager,
Okay.
on our website. And we are working with an arranger now. We always get the question of where can we find your arrangements? How can this student orchestra play Eleanor Rigby
Right,
like
yeah.
the string
Yeah.
queens? And so working with an arranger to get our arrangements available to be published, to be accessible to young students or even professionals who would like to play our music. Because what we realize, and this is the birth of a lot of our repertoire, is for string trio, the arrangements just don't exist.
Right.
There's a string quartet version,
Mhm.
there's an orchestral score, there's a piano score, but there's not a string trio
Yeah.
arrangement
Right.
of probably 99% of the pieces that we
That's
play.
right.
And so we're partnering with an arranger to make sure that these arrangements are accessible for every trio
Right.
that wants to be able to play something unique and different, or to be able to play some music like the string queens.
That's amazing. You have a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot coming up. I'm exhausted just hearing about it.
Sound like my
Yeah,
dad.
I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
And actually, I'm very excited that you took the time after a show tonight to be here and to do this. We started in daylight and we're ending in darkness.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time. Thank you. We wish you the best moving forward. And I know we'll talk again.
Yes, very pleasant. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Harmony in the Woods. You guys have something really,
Thank you.
Really special
We
here.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us again.
Thanks, guys.